Hi, this is Gary from 3Bug Media, and today we're going to talk about localizing your website. So when it comes to local SEO, one of the things that we want to do is we want to position our website so it's local in nature. So when the search engines come and look at your site, they know that your website and your content is about a specific geographic area, and that's going to help you rank locally for that content. So there's several things we can do that we're going to discuss today. One of the first things the search engines look for when they come to your website is your page titles. Now, every page on your website has a title. So whenever you can, try to add a local intent to it. An example might be, if you're a plumber, instead of saying plumber or residential plumber or commercial plumber, things like that, you may say residential plumber in Seattle or commercial plumber in Tacoma, Washington, or something like that. And that helps the search engines know that this is a plumber that services a specific area. You can also do that with different types of content, with blogs, things like that. So instead of, if you're going to do a case study or if you're going to do some kind of recent project that you did, you may do, instead of doing like basement renovation project, you might put basement renovation project in South Charlotte or something like that. So the search engines know that that piece of content is for a specific area. And so when people in that area are doing a search, it's more likely to show up in the search results because it's local and it's probably more relevant to them. Okay, so whenever you can, and when we talk about adding local intent to the page titles, that doesn't mean keyword stuffing, just randomly stuffing terms in there. Doesn't look good because you still have to remember people read them, so you want to make sure they make sense. But if you get creative, you can figure out ways to incorporate your local area most of the time. The next thing we're going to talk about is metadata. So metadata is things on your website that people may or may not see, but the search engines use to gather information and to make determinations about your website. So meta descriptions is one of them. That's the 1 or 2 line sentence in the Google search results that people see. It's just like a mini page description of what that website is before they click on it. And you can actually write your own meta descriptions on there. So it's technically not a ranking factor in Google, but it will help with your click-through rates and it'll make your content much more relevant when it does show up in the search results, and people may be more likely to click on it if they see that piece of content is relevant to their area. So metadata, meta descriptions, depending if you're using something like WordPress, you'll be able to manipulate your meta titles. And meta title basically means when you have a page on your website, you're going to give it a name, but you can actually give it a meta title, which is a different title that shows up in the search results. So depending on what kind of CMS you use, like I said, it's easy in WordPress. If you're using something else, it may be a little more difficult, but you can actually give specific titles just for the search engines to use. So meta title, try to incorporate a local intent whenever you can. The next thing we're going to talk about, and this is a really important one, is your NAP. Now, what does your NAP mean? It means your name, address, and phone number. So that is a very strong indicator and something the search engines look for when they're trying to determine if a website is local in nature. So you have your business name, you have your address, and your phone number. Out of all 3 of these, your phone number is the most important because you may have the same business name as other businesses. You may share an address, especially if you're in an office building or something like that, but very rarely will a business share the same phone number with another business. So your phone number is a big one. And when you have your NAP, you want to make sure your NAP is displayed prominently on your website. I personally like to either put it in the footer most of the time. You may put it in the header of your website, or you may put it on your contact page, about page, things like that. Like I said, I like to try to have it on every page of the website, and I usually put it in someplace universal like the header or the footer. Not only is it easy for the search engines to determine what your location is, but it's also easy for your customers to know your name, your address, your phone number without having to search for it. One of the big things with your NAP is to make sure it's consistent, because when you start doing local SEO, your NAP is going to be all over the place online. It's going to be on the Yellow Pages, Google Places, Bing Places, tons of different directories. People are going to be mentioning your business. You're going to be on the Better Business Bureau. It's going to be everywhere. And one of the most important things you can do when it comes to local SEO is to make sure that you are consistent with your NAP. So don't abbreviate your name sometimes, and then other times use your whole name. Don't change your address. If you're a specific unit number, always use that unit number. And your phone numbers, sometimes you'll use dashes, sometimes you may use periods, maybe you don't use dashes at all sometimes. It sounds silly, but you have to remember the search engines are looking through billions of pieces of data, so the easier it is for them to determine, this website matches this listing on Yellow Pages or this listing on Angie's List. The easier it can determine that, the easier it is for them to give you credit for those links, those citations, those customer reviews that you're getting from those sites. If they're off and the search engines aren't sure, a lot of times they may just discount it and you'll lose credit for it. So one of the most important things you'll do is to make sure that your NAP is consistent. Okay? The next thing we're going to talk about is content. So content can be blog posts on your website, content on your homepage, service pages, portfolio pages, basically anything where you're going to have text or images or video on your website. And this is a perfect opportunity to localize your content. And I'll give you an example of what that means. Say you're a real estate agent. Instead of writing the same generic real estate blog post that every other real estate agent publishes, 5 tips on buying your home, 5 tips on selling your home, things like that, why don't you try getting specific and talk about your area? So you might talk about something like the 5 best neighborhoods in Portland, Oregon for young families. 5 things you need to know about the condo market in Toronto. So if you start localizing your content, not only is it more relevant for your readers and your customers, the search engines, they know right off the bat that this piece of content is for a specific area, and you're going to get a nice kind of boost in the search engines if somebody in that area is searching for that search term. So it's good for customers, it's good for the search engines. It keeps you from doing super, generic content on there, and it's much, in the end of the day, it's much more relevant for your readers to, instead of getting generic tips somewhere, you're talking about their specific geographic area. So localize your content whenever you can. Lastly, we're going to talk about links. Now, links is very important when it comes to local SEO. SEO in general, it's the single most important ranking factor in the Google algorithm or Bing algorithm or any search engine algorithm. Links, basically, if you're really good at link building, you're going to do really well in SEO. Now, when it comes to links and local SEO, what you want to do is you want to try to get local links whenever possible. So maybe you got your local blogs in your area. Maybe you can get them to write about you, do an interview, or maybe you can do sponsored giveaways for some local blogs, things like that, so you can get mentioned. So if you're in Charlotte and this blog is in Charlotte and you're getting links from them, that's another strong signal from the search engines, that you are a local business for that specific area. Some of the other things you can do are directories. Most of them are free. You can get your Yellow Page listings, Better Business Bureau listings, Angie's List, Yelp, Foursquare. Every city, every industry has hundreds of different directories where you can add your information, your NAP, and if you can get in there and keep talking about your local area, that'll help the search engines to know that you're all about that specific area. Media, so you have local media in your area. So doing interviews with them, maybe you can get a gig writing for them, maybe you get them to come down and cover a store opening, things like that. Any kind of mentions in the local media is also going to help you when it comes to local SEO. Other businesses. So if you have other businesses in your area, maybe you can team up with them. Maybe you can do some kind of cross promotion, things like that. Maybe you can get a link or do an interview on their website, maybe, vice versa, and go back and forth. But other local businesses in your city are a great resource, because if you can get citations and links coming from them, that's another strong signal for the search engines that you're all about that specific area. Other things you can do is local civic organizations, the Rotary Club, things like that. Maybe you go speak for them, you do a sponsorship, you join their club. Chamber of Commerce is a really good one. You join the Chamber of Commerce, they're going to give you a link back to your website. That's a super strong signal that you're all about a specific area on your site. Other thing you can do is sponsorships. So local soccer team, baseball teams, things like that, organizations, you do a sponsorship, and a lot of times they'll list you on their website as a thank you. Same thing, it's a local organization in a specific area, you're a local business, it sends strong signals that you're all about that area. So if you can get a lot of these things going on, what will happen is you'll start to develop a theme. And the search engines, it'll be very clear to them that, a lot of your links, your content, your links, everything's all about a specific area. And that's going to give a super strong signal with the search engines to know that you're all about that area. So when people from that area start searching for what you offer, there's a very good chance that you're going to show up higher in the search engines than somebody else that's just doing generic content, generic blog posts, generic links from all over the place. The more you can kind of narrow down to your specific area, the easier it is to rank locally. Okay, so hope you learned a lot. If you have any questions or you want to learn more about local SEO, you can click the link below. Thank you very much.